Hello BookTube! Welcome to Lizzie Faye Loves Books. I'm Elizabeth and it's Friday, so it's time for Friday Reads. So for this video, I'd like to tell you what all I finished during this past week since my last Friday Reads, and tell you what I'm currently reading and then what I plan to read next in all of the formats that I'm currently reading in. And then also I want to give you an update on the Cozyathon. We've just got a couple of days left, and I spent some time today catching up with some of the challenges that I hadn't finished, and I will tell you about that as well. So I have finished a total of 8 books so far for the month of October, and 6 of them were since my last Friday Reads video. Now, a couple of those, obviously, I was reading during my last Friday Reads video. One of those was The Goodbye Quilt, and it's just a really short little book. I listened to it on audio, and it was on Hoopla, and of course I forgot to look up who the narrator was, but I enjoyed this a lot. This I expected to be a romance, and it really wasn't. It was more of a mother-daughter story, kind of an empty nester mother-daughter story about a mom taking her daughter to college, and they were traveling from their home all the way across country, and I enjoyed it a lot. In fact, towards the end, I have to say it really took me on a roller coaster ride. I didn't know what was happening. You know, things kept changing and things were happening, and I thought, oh, it's going this way, and then it went the other way and then back, and I just, I didn't know, but it kept it interesting, and I thought it was a good little book, and it started me thinking about someday, in the future, not too far from now, when I will be experiencing something similar with my youngest daughter, who just started high school. So I've still got 4 good years left before I have to worry about this. And we'll just, hope that everything goes well between now and then. So this was a good book. I enjoyed it. Then I also finished a YA romance, Isla and the Happily Ever After. This finished a series for me, a trilogy, and this was not my favorite, but it was not my least favorite. I think of the 3, this is about the middle. I think I liked Anna and the French Kiss the best, and Lola and the Boy Next Door the least, so this fell somewhere in the middle. I'm not a fan of, teens having sex in real life and in books. So I just think that we need to be teaching our kids to make better life choices, and I know that they're not always going to do that, but I hate to see kids doing that in books, and I hate that they're in books that kids are going to read about, because then it seems to validate that. That's a whole video. But anyway, that was really the only thing about this book that I didn't care for. I enjoyed the storyline. The setting was France. The people were likable, and I enjoyed the different relationships, and it was fun to see the characters from the other books back in at the end. So overall, I enjoyed the book, but like I said, just had those couple of little things that I was not a fan of. And then I also finished The Readers of Broken Wheel Recommend by Katarina Bavald. I started out loving this. I tell you, I'm sure that this author has to be a fan of Fannie Flagg, and of course I'm a huge fan of Fannie Flagg. She made references to fried green tomatoes all throughout the book, and then one reference to A Redbird Christmas, which is my favorite book of all time, so that endeared the book to me. However, about the last third of the book just kind of went off the deep end, and I'm not sure how I feel about it. It was just crazy. And really it was just one storyline that was like, what? Oh my goodness. I was kind of speechless. So you just have to kind of read it for yourself to see what I mean. But if any of you have read it and you want to discuss this book with me, I would be curious to know how you felt about this one particular relationship in the book. So other than that, I did enjoy it. It wasn't the book to end all books. It wasn't my favorite book in the world or anything like that, but it was fun. The characters were quirky. The town camaraderie was great, and I love that it was about books and a bookshop. So that was about all I can say about Readers of Broken Wheel Recommend. And then just today, I finished The Air by Kiera Cass. I really enjoyed this. A lot of people I've heard say that they don't like these last two books as much as the first three. I did like it. I liked it a lot, and I'm going right into The Crown and finishing and getting that read. Now, I know this is a series book, and you're like, okay, I thought you were just going to do standalones. But I had been waiting for the audio of this ever since earlier, probably the beginning of last month or the middle. I don't even remember when exactly I first ordered it. I had hoped to read this and The Crown last month during series September, but it just didn't come. Whoever had it checked out, just had it checked out for longer than I hoped they would. Finally, it came, and I started it right away, and I really did enjoy it. I just finished it today, and I will be starting on The Crown tomorrow. And then two other books I read. I read one of them today, the whole thing, and the other one I started a couple of days ago for the Cozyathon. One of the challenges was to read a book with chocolate in the title, and then another challenge that I really had a hard time with was to read a book completely by candlelight. That was really difficult for me. Finally, I just kind of gave up, and this morning I finished reading it. I still had the candle going, but it was daylight, and I just had to go ahead and finish reading it because it was just taking forever. And I enjoy the book. It's just a lot of fun. I've read this before. It's a really cute book, but it's got a lot of good life lessons about selfishness, greed, even good nutrition, and it's just a really fantastic book. I didn't realize that it's as old as it is. It was originally published in the 50s. I think let me look really quick. 1952. I didn't know that it was this old. Now, this edition is from, I think, the 70s, but the book itself has been around a lot longer. So anyway, this is an excellent book. Now, I did describe it slightly incorrectly when I told you I was going to read it. This boy, his name is John Midas, and it is a Midas retelling. Everything he touches doesn't turn to chocolate. Everything he touches to his mouth turns to chocolate. So that is the premise. Well, and that doesn't happen right away. You get to kind of see a little of his backstory first, and you get to know him a little bit before this actually happens to him. And then you get to read about his experiences and the resolution. So I'm not going to tell you about it because you really ought to read it. It is an elementary level chapter book. I wouldn't even call it a middle grade book. It is a chapter book. It's just a little over 100 pages, and it's adorable. And then, because I read that, another one of the Cozyathon challenges was to reread an all-time favorite. And I thought, well, as long as I'm reading elementary chapter books, I may as well get out another one that is an all-time favorite, and that is The Whipping Boy. I read this in its entirety today, and I just loved it just as much as I always have. This is just a great book. It is set in a medieval time. It's about a young boy who was scooped off the street. He was a rat catcher, and he now lives in the castle with the royal family, and he takes the punishment for the prince. And this prince is known as Prince Brat because he's horrible. And it's just the story. Now, it starts out, you think, oh, that sounds awful. Well, it is kind of sad, and the truth is that the author, Sid Fleischman, did some research and discovered that this type of thing actually did happen in real life because royalty was not allowed to be spanked or punished, and so someone else took the punishment for them. And so he wrote this story centered around that reality, but of course it's a fictitious story, and it's just fantastic. I recommend highly both of these books. If you're in the mood for something fun and short, and these are both excellent to give to children. They both have really good life lessons in them, told in an excellent way, and I just highly recommend both of them. So those are the books that I finished this week, and then currently I am reading 3 books. In fact, I have been doing a couple of other Cozyathon challenges today. Well, there was one that I was going to do yesterday, and I just didn't get to do it, about the challenge was to listen to an audiobook while baking. And so I actually did that one today while I was listening to the air. And like I said, I finished it. So I'll show you what I baked. I actually made 2 peach pies from scratch. The peaches are peaches that we picked. We did You Pick Peaches back in May, and the peaches we stored in the freezer, and then when the hurricane hit, they got completely thawed before we could get our power back on, and plugged in then our refrigerator wasn't working, so we plugged in the motorhome refrigerator freezer. I moved them out to there and just, prayed that they could be salvaged. So when I took them out of the freezer today, they still smelled okay, so I'm hoping that they're still going to taste okay. So that was my baking. And then the challenge that was for today. Now, I should say, you don't have to do the challenges in the order that they're written in. In fact, Sylvia made a point of telling me, you don't have to do them in order. I said, oh, I know. I just wanted to, just because it added a little extra challenge to it for me. So the challenge that fell on today's date was to exercise while listening to an audiobook. And I thought that was a fantastic challenge, and I'm going to try to do that more often because I need some exercise. So I picked back up The Second Sister by Marie Bostwick. I had not listened to this in a few days. I only have now, after listening to it a good bit this evening, I think I only have 3 or 4 hours left on it. I kind of set it aside because I was working on finishing The Readers of Broken Wheel Recommend, and also The Air, which, by the way, I forgot again to write down who the narrators were. I know that Readers of Broken Wheel Recommend, one of the narrators is, she also did the Debbie Makeover book that I just listened to. Lorelei King, I think is right. Anyway, really good. She did the voice of Alice, which we just hear her voice in letters. And then another narrator did the other narration. So there were 2 narrators for that book. All right, so then the others that I'm currently reading, I've gotten a good bit read in The Shadows of Sherwood by Kekla Magoon. I went ahead and picked this one up even though I had just started The Rose and the Dagger. I have not gotten very far in it because one of the other Cozyathon challenges was to read a book where the cover has autumn colors on it. So of all of the books that I had on my very near TBR, this was the most like that description, with the red and the gold and orange and brown, or black. And so I went ahead and picked this up, and I am not quite half done with this one. This is one of our Sunshine State books for this year, so I wanted to read it for that reason. And then, so I will, hopefully get to this, finish this one within the next couple of days, and then I can get back to The Rose and the Dagger. And then coming up, the next print book after those, I'm going to reread The Guernsey Literary and Potato Peel Pie Society. And then on audio, on Hoopla, I'm going to listen to The Good Dream by Donna Van Leer. And then I already mentioned that I am going to listen to The Crown by Kiera Cass. And let's see if I can tell you the narrator is, because it's probably the same person. Brittany Presley, and I believe that she also narrated The Air. So those are what I have in the near immediate future, and I will be coming back to you with a full Cozyathon wrap-up very soon. I believe we have 2 more days, so probably my Monday or Tuesday video will be a Cozyathon wrap-up. And this week, as far as my VEDO, I did manage to do a video every day so far for October, and I caught up with some tags this past week, so be sure you check those and see if I tagged you. In fact, I think one of them, I said I was going to write it in the description, and I can't remember if I actually went back and did that. So even if you watch that tag, you might want to go back and check the description. I'll hopefully get that added tomorrow. So then I got started with a couple of book reviews that I have been wanting to do, and I have some more of those planned. I may also do a booktuber shout out coming up soon. I haven't done one of those ever, and I need to. And so that's all I have for this Friday Reads video. Let me know what you're reading this week, and I hope you're having a great day. Read a good book, and God bless you.